I can't really think of a proper intro for this.
Did you pick a name yet?
BookBurners. And I have not come up with anything better. I've intentionally sat down and was like, is there a way to make it sound more religious?
Book burning is pretty religious.
It is. But that's not an official terminology that they use, though. It's not like you have churches going around like...
cleansing. It's a book
We're
cleansing.
book burning this weekend.
We're not actually going to burn books, but
they just say things like, we're going to get rid of those demonic books like Harry Potter and
Twilight from the devil.
And they don't like acknowledge it as like, we're going to have a book burning this weekend. They don't say it like that.
I don't know how any of this is going to relate to this.
Atrocities.
True.
Even
and
atrocities. The judge!
Oh, that judge.
Dude, there's a lot to talk about. Hello, everybody.
Someone to die.
Welcome.
That's it. Just welcome.
Just welcome to the first episode of BookBurners. We're gonna judge the souls of all the books in the world eventually, I'm sure.
All 5 trillion bazillion of them.
So, a little just backstory for this. I am not much of a reader, but I've been wanting to get back into reading. I've read a handful of books, but not as many as I would like to. But this was a way to start reading more books. And so we picked a book for Christmas.
When he says we, he picked it.
And if you read the title, you know what book I picked.
You found out like I did.
It's a notorious title. I suppose introductions are in order. You might know me, maybe, off chance. You might be here from my channel, Lord Battora. I am Lord Battora. Hello. And you might know her, but you might not know it. This is Whispers, our moderator, and also runner of Whispers of a Reader on Instagram, which will also be linked below. Both of these channels will be linked below. She's on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. And go and give us follows and your money. It's funny because we were just talking about how these crooked bastards are trying to take everyone's money.
We're not crooked, though.
Listen, if I just put me behind a pulpit right now, I actually look the part. We thought it would be fun to make a podcast. And then we decided that it would be fun to also judge them. At the end of every single book that we read, we have to agree on if the book escapes
the fiery depths of hell.
If we both agree that it is worthy, it will ascend to the divine bookshelf.
That will eventually be
That
here.
will eventually be somewhere. It's probably going to be. It'll be all shite. Shite.
It'll be all shite.
I was going to say shiny and bright, but then
shite.
Shite. How long have you been reading?
On record since I was 2.
Reading? I wasn't.
There is video evidence somewhere out there of me staying up too late, ripping off all my books.
I remember that!
I was 2 years old. I'm sure you've seen this stupid tape.
Yeah. Also, just so you know, she's my cousin.
We are related.
Yeah, we're cousins. So, that's why I know about the childhood footage.
Really creepy if it's any other way around.
It's just like, oh yeah, it's total circumstance that you're my moderator now after like your parent uploaded your childhood footage on YouTube. Well, that's getting really dark and creepy and also related to the book later. This book takes place pre-Civil War in...
Is it pre-Civil War?
It's pre-Civil War.
I thought it was after.
No. So here, I'll get into a little side note about that in a little bit. But this takes place after, what is it called? We were at war with Mexico, like, I think it was around Texas. I probably should have actually looked up what the war is, because this is a historical fiction. It's not just a fiction, it's historical fiction, pretty much. Based off of another book that one of the people who was in the gang that this gang is based off of, down to like the characters in it, called My Confession, I believe it was. And a lot of the places that they go to and the events that happen are based off of what is in that account.
Okay.
And apparently Cormac McCarthy followed where they went to every single location along the routes and stuff, and got like the visual on like the feel of where they were at the whole time for every step of the way. And some historians are even like, this is pretty much as historically accurate as it can get, especially, well, like obviously a lot of it's like dramatized and fictionalized because they don't have it all down. Like you got
there's no like
accounts.
physical documentation.
Yeah, it's not like they were recording everything that they were doing or something like that. But as far as like the places that the gang like went and some of the stuff that the gang did is in congruency with that, and even some of the characters are in.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
That. So like, yeah, a lot of this is supposed to be like a visualization or like a rendition interpretation of what they could have been doing.
Great.
Which,
fantastic.
You know, I believe it is probably fairly accurate because it's horrific. It takes place in a horrific period of time.
Yeah, literally the Wild West.
Yeah.
And South and whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, it's like the Mexican border.
Yeah.
So,
which isn't not much better out this
and there's a lot of discrimination in that book. I don't know if you noticed.
Not at all. Everybody's
the regular dropping of the N-word maybe was
that was honestly a shocker. I wasn't
You weren't ready for that, were you?
I really
I
wasn't.
either. Well, I was listening to the audiobook at first. Like the first half I was just listening to. And then I read the second half. But like the first time they dropped that, I was like, oh,
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It made sense
again, and
especially with context. You know,
yeah, it was.
It's a very brutal and straightforward depiction.
And
it
wasn't even just like black people; it was everybody. Like if
Everyone
you had a tint of a color in you,
yeah. If you weren't white whatsoever, then you're a slur. That's what you are.
That you are that word that we're not allowed to say.
Well, it was funny. There's one line in there. We're kind of deviating from introductory stuff, but I will get. There is a line in there that is talking about the Mexican people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Mexican people. It might have been the Native Americans. Honestly, I can't remember which because they're at, like I think it was the Apaches or something like that are down there. Well, there's a bunch of Native American.
I was gonna say there was
groups.
a lot of them down there.
But they were talking about, I think it was the Mexicans. Oh, it is. It's early in because it's when the kid, which is your main character, he's just called the kid throughout the whole thing. He's not given a name.
Almost no one has a name.
A lot of them have names or nicknames.
Yeah, they were all like nicknames or titles.
Yeah, well, but they're also in a gang, so that kind of makes sense. But the kid from intro, before he's even in the gang, he's just called the kid by the what do you call it? The author's voice.
The
narrator.
Yeah, yeah.
Not quite a narrator. It's not like there's a narrator actively narrating everything. But you're introduced him as the kid. He's not given a name by his parents or anything like. Well, sorry, excuses of parents.
Can we call him parents?
At least his dad. His mom just died in childbirth.
Yes. And then his dad just was a wonderful human being.
Well, yeah. He epitome of just negligent.
Uh-huh.
At one point, there's like a captain who is initially getting him to join his group to go fight Mexican
when they
groups.
go and start the scalp hunting?
Yeah, before the scalp hunting.
Okay, yeah, that was
the scalp hunting happens once he joins the gang.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a group that he joined that was like a military group. So historically speaking, there were groups of people who, after the war was already over, would just be like, we don't think so, and they would go, and they would just keep on going and causing skirmishes to keep on happening across the borders.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what the kid gets involved with, and they're just
kind of forgot about that, but
they're just raiding the land at the very start before, like, even though there's like no more official conflict, they should all be going home, but some people are just like, actually, I hate these people. They're awful. But that captain dude, he was just like, they're just barely better than N-words. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, damn.
Yeah, the racism like everyone. Strong.
Like, they're filthy. Like,
and like, knowledge-wise, I realized like racism was horribly bad at the time. Like, there was a war because of it.
Yeah.
But like, to see it in print hit me differently than watching like Gone with the Wind or even Will Smith's Wild Wild West, because that was like they were trying to start the Civil War back up in that movie.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
In the Will Smith version of Wild Wild West, they meet Loveless, and his whole thing is he didn't want the Civil War to end because
he likes
white
slavery.
supremacy. Well, he didn't have a lower
White
half, so
supremacy.
he needed slaves. Not what I meant.
I was gonna say,
He literally was just a torso on a chair.
all these cripples out there in the world, you know, without their legs, like,
But he
not
was
having
also a
slavery
genius.
screws them over.
But because of his genius intellect, he was like,
Yeah.
whites are better,
Yeah.
and, you know, whatever.
Just
And he
complete
would
ego.
try to incite a civil war. Right. And, like, all these egotistical people out there. It just, like, I'm like, that couldn't have been as bad, I think. And then I actually met somebody a few years ago who was hardcore racist at a party. I was like, I had to pull my friend aside and was like, do you know this guy is saying all these things, horrible things about, like, apparently his brother was dating a black woman and stuff, and it was and this and that, and I
Holy
was like,
crap.
what, why is he here? And she was like, he's dating my friend and I had to invite her. I was like, oh boy. It was bad. It was really bad. So I'm like, and then I read it in print and I'm like, wow, they really did word like that.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because there was a moment in there too that it hit me for Native Americans and how they were abused too.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, abused is putting it lightly. But there was a moment where they found one, like, really old lady who was a Native American.
Yeah. Yep.
I also, just as, forgive me, I will not be able to remember off the top of my head all of the different tribes that appear and the names of them.
There's like 7 or 8 of them.
Unless maybe I suppose you could like look them up if I have to. But there's a decent amount, and they bring her up and that she's like the only one there or whatever. And I think Glanton, who is the gang leader, he just like goes up to her and like just shoots her in the head and then like scalps her and stuff, and they like give like this long description of her before, like she's like haggard and barely breathing and all this crap, and just
yeah, it was like, we did a service to her.
It's
She
like,
was dying anyway.
oh yeah, and then they're just like easy money, because here's the historical reason why they're getting paid to do it is the Mexican government at that point wanted the Native Americans off the land, and they were paying, well, because the Apaches were getting, I think it was the Apaches was the main target. But they were also getting into skirmishes with the Mexican government because they want like people to stop taking their land.
How dare they?
How dare they? If you're just trading and whatever, you could still be beset by them and all that.
Yeah.
But the Mexican government was just like, you know, protect us from them. Like, just kill them all. But then when it's like the first kill you see, I believe, if I remember correctly, of a Native American, it is a defenseless old lady, which just tells you the nature of these people, where it's like, they're not going to just be like, go all noble, like, let's just go, well, obviously later events proves that, but like, we're going to go fight just the violent ones and like, just make the fighting stop because someone has to win or something like that.
We're getting paid to choose this side, so we're going to do
shoot
that.
The weak and the feeble and the easy money.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally just like you think like a predator in Africa. It's like a lion.
Right.
And they're just like, that's the weak, feeble, old one. That's an easy picking. It's not going to be a challenge. We're going to take that one.
And
it's
then
like,
we're going to graphically detail it later.
Yeah, and then they go into detail. So one of the things that's commonly said about the book is just how beautifully it is written, and how in the descriptions and how like vivid it is, even like with the landscapes and stuff.
See, I would disagree with that. I mean, while it was brutal, I don't think that, because they would go to classically beautiful areas, but they wouldn't talk about that. They would be like, oh, it's just so dry, and I would sell my soul for a drop of water, and like you feel the dry, but
I felt like there's a lot of that too. Those parts made me bored.
I would totally, like, because I listened to the whole thing on audiobook because I'm multitasking all the time. I'm always doing something, so that's how I get through books so fast. And I could easily zone out for like 10 minutes, and they would still be talking about some cactus out in the desert that somebody peed on.
And then he paid for it the rest of his life.
It's like, okay, can we stop now? Like, I almost missed all the bloodshed. Like, come on.
Yeah, so that would be a part that I agree I didn't like. I was like, a lot of it I felt like was like, and then they rode to this place.
And then they did this,
and then they rode to this place.
Yeah,
and
for only, what is this, like
place.
less than 300 pages?
It's like 340, 60...
Oh, it's like 350.
350.
I swear, it was like 700-page book at times. I was like, I'd look at the time and I'm like, I still have 6 hours left. What the crap?
No, I get that too. To try to put like the narrative part of the book back on rails a little bit. that was a deep rabbit hole and jumping around. It's difficult. Also, sorry, it's the first one. Deal with it.
We are learning.
At the start with the main character with the kid, you get introduced to him.
Which honestly, it was one of the best intros.
I thought so too.
It was a good intro.
I love his intro because they're just like, he was born into violence with his mother dying, and he's like, and he'll be good for nothing else, pretty much.
Only violence.
And I was just like, damn, that was just like, they couldn't get a more depressing, nihilistic start for a character ever, dude.
It was good. I did appreciate that. And then like he got shot and was taken down river.
Yeah, and he just like walks it off.
And he's 14.
Yeah, at that point he's 14. I think he's like, what, 17 or 18 when he actually joins the gang or something like that.
I don't know if they ever say. He just says he's older, but they still call him the kid.
The whole story of this not only follows the gang, but it primarily follows the kid and then him joining the gang and then all the stuff that the gang does. But it is interesting too, because when I was reading it at some point, I was like, this is our main character, but you actually don't read a lot about him.
No, there were times I forgot about him even.
Yeah, I was just like, I forgot that he was existed at all at some points. But that kind of just shows to like how like almost non-existent he is.
Yeah, he's definitely an afterthought to a lot of the people in the gang.
Yeah, not only to a lot of the people except for the judge.
Except for the judge.
But like, we'll get to that. That's a whole discussion point. It's almost felt like they give him some things for like why he's there and stuff, but it's almost like they're intentionally like phasing him out, except for where necessary to have him interacting.
Yeah.
To have you be there.
Yeah.
So,
like you become the kid kind of sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like you're like more taking place of the kid and what's going on with the kid, if that makes any sense.
Kinda. No,
because even when they're in like interactions and stuff, you don't see him doing a whole lot. Occasionally you'll see him do things, but like whenever there's like violent scenes and whatnot, he's like absent almost.
Yeah, he's usually the one, cleaning the horses or taking down the tents and whatever. He's like the maid basically. Yeah. he's the what do they call it? The there's a word and it's not in my brain.
He's the cabin
He's the
boy.
Unpaid. Yes.
He's the intern.
Unpaid. Yes, he's the intern.
Yeah. That is pretty close.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I was getting there. And once you become the kid, like you feel the tension. Like I hated it when the kid was like observing the judge and all of the wonky stuff that I'm not even calling him a man, that being was doing.
Well, that's funny. So, I will say one other thing with my experience. I got lost.
Did you?
I don't know if it is just because of my lack of proper novel reading experience or if it had something to do with the audio. Because like even when I like actually sit down and read the second half, when I was like reading it and not just listening to it, I would be pausing and be like, what just happened? I was getting lost between like the long rides of we're going here to this place in this Mexican city, which also, forgive me, there's a lot of Mexican city names and I could not keep them straight. That's obviously, I'm a white boy.
In the north.
In the north. Forgive me, but I had a hard time when they're just going like, we're going to go to Chihuahua City.
Oh yeah, there was a Chihuahua thing.
There was a Chihuahua City. That's the one that I remember.
Yeah. I forgot about
but
the
then
Chihuahua.
there's also, I don't know, Sirocco, or like just, there's a lot of names.
A lot of them sound like Taco
that-
Bell. I said it. I'll say it. They
You
sounded
did
like
say it.
Taco Bell items.
Taco Bell got their inspiration from Blood Meridian.
Dude. Oh, okay.
You're like, the Diablo sauce taco? You'll bleed like everyone in the book. I was getting lost, and about a quarter to a third of the way into the book, I had to look up a video to just like summarize what was
Oh,
going
that's
on.
a good idea.
I paused it like where I was like, okay, I remember these events, but then they would be like, and here's what happened. I was like, that's what happened.
Yeah.
But something really important happened with the gang and its activities that I did not notice changed. Which,
Very curious what that was.
well, I guess I'll just say it.
We're only out of
So-
order.
One of the things that I missed that was completely like, holy crap, where that just really just kind of highlighted how evil the gang was when it like kind of dawned on them that like, hey, we don't really need to kill the Apaches or Native Americans. We can just kill Mexicans because they can't tell a difference.
Oh, yeah.
And they just start killing a ton of Mexican cities. They're just literally ride between
yeah.
little
They-
Mexican villages and cities and kill everyone and then scalp just all of the villagers.
They raise entire
Yeah.
towns.
And I missed that.
You did?
And I was
Wow.
confused. Like, they would be mentioning, like, these characters and, like, being in the Mexican towns and stuff, but then they'd be going in the slaughter. But my mind was still locked on they're being paid to go murder the Native Americans for money. And so I thought, but then I was like, why are they interacting with these characters these ways? And I was just, for some reason I was lost. My mind was completely locked on like, oh, this book is based on just the atrocities against Native Americans.
No.
And
It's literally
then it
everything.
shifts to like, well, we're white and we think nothing of the Mexicans. Let's just kill them and sell the scalps. And I missed that part, and that made a huge difference with how evil I thought they
I
were. Because I was like, bruh! I was like, obviously it's not like murdering one group of people is worse than another.
No.
But it is just the fact that it's like these, once again, it almost goes back to just the lady
Mhm.
who was like completely defenseless. It's like, all of a sudden you're just going to start just killing everybody and lying about it just for money. It's like,
And it's
it's
fine.
not even a mercenary at that point.
No, that's just...
That's complete
it's-
insanity.
Yeah.
But it's all because of racism and discriminatory and stuff
I'm
too.
like, how is that the point that you're like, okay, these people are pure evil? It
it
wasn't
wasn't that. It was
wasn't
just
the puppy thing.
well, those are one-off things that are more character specific. Like that's something
Oh.
about the judge specifically.
Oh.
So once again, we'll get to the judge in a little bit. But it was one of the things where like the gang and its overall activities
Oh yeah, they were all
that I was
just-
like, okay, it's like they're getting paid by the Mexican government to get rid of people who like they're just in a skirmish, and I was just like, it's bad, but it wasn't yet diabolical in the sense of like it was
it
still
was a job to them.
it was still pre-Civil War. They were getting paid to get
I thought
rid
it
of
was after Civil War.
pre-Civil War.
I'm so confused. Okay.
It was they're being paid to be like get rid of people that there is already an ongoing conflict with, and it's like, okay, to end the conflict. I kind of understand it, even if it's like, okay, Native Americans get like screwed over of their land and stuff. But then it's like, yeah, we're just gonna kill innocent people, and
That's
I
fine.
felt it was the same response as when they killed the first Native American lady.
Yeah.
Because it was just like she had nothing
Whoa.
to do with the actual conflicts that were happening.
Mhm.
They're just villagers
They
just
just-
chilling
yeah.
out, doing day-to-day crap, trying to survive in this awful wasteland desert place,
Mm-hmm.
and you just show up and just kill them all. And that was just like, oh wow, I get it, but it's like diabolical when they just like, you know, they can't tell the difference, so and we get paid anyway.
And it
So
wasn't
it's-
even just killing them. Like a lot of the women, like it was like
Oh, yeah.
rape, pillage, plunder. Like it was basically
Yeah.
piracy on land.
And
Like,
heavily
oh.
discriminated, and they got paid for it too.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just the plunder; it's like they were getting paid to do it by the Mexicans that they were killing.
Right. And then plus whatever they
Which
would
is
find
just
laying
like-
around too.
But once again, it's like, and then you're like, you go to the thing where it's like that seems like it actually happened.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not quite the ways that it did, but like if the accounts are from that book are like to be believed or whatever.
Yeah, I
then
want to
it's
know
like-
exactly how much of this was fiction. Because I don't even know. I don't know if I could sleep if I knew how much was legit. Because holy crap.
To my judgment, I feel like there's only really 4 characters. I think 4 characters. So like most of the gang members, they do things here and there, and like I'm not saying that they're not characters. I was telling you before we started, I was like, I'm a little anxious about this. One of the reasons is because Blood Meridian is held to a somewhat high regard.
Really?
By not everyone, but
say I'd never heard
by
it before
a lot of people who are like for Cormac McCarthy. There are people who feel like it's like his magnum opus.
Really? Above the Road?
Yeah.
I think I disagree.
I haven't read The Road.
I have read The Road. I love The Road. That book messed me up for weeks. The movie is even really good. I mean, it's got Viggo Mortensen, so it's automatically good, but they stay pretty true to the...
I don't know who that is either.
It's Aragon.
Do you know how long it's been since I watched Aragon?
Okay. We get crap for this video. It's because you don't know who Viggo Mortensen is.
No! We're going to get crap on it because we're going to be crapping on the book a little bit.
I mean, we're not crapping.
Not really.
Technically. We're hating on
yet.
elements of the book.
There are elements of... If I was to crap on anything in the book, it's just I got... gas. No.
This book gave me indigestion.
No, it was well, I was watching all the bloodshed and I was just getting a rumbling in my tongue. All the travel.
Yeah.
I felt like I got lost a lot also because of how much just traveling between the places that they went to. And they're like, we went here and then here and then here and then here.
Yeah,
and
it'd
it
be
was
like
dry.
chunks. It'd be like 10, 15 pages of just traveling.
But yeah, when I was going back to what I was talking about the video, but like a lot of events that somehow just kind of like went over my head on the initial like reading of it. I was like, oh, these things all happen. Like tons of people are dying like a week into it from the initial leave off when the kid joins the captain on to go fight Mexicans because you're like, the war's not over yet. We have to kill all the Mexicans.
Right.
And that's how he initially gets over to that area, and then he gets like.
Because they end up in like South Texas-ish, don't they?
That's where they start.
Yeah, but I feel like
they cross they cross the border to fight Mexicans.
Okay, yeah, and that's when they get to Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Sorry for butchering that name.
I think Chihuahua.
It's something Chihuahua. There's like
City,
an extra syllable or something in front of Chihuahua.
I think it's just Chihuahua City.
Maybe that's just how the
But there's other cities. I don't know. Yeah, I was. This is a complete side note thing. So, at work, we sell tobacco products because it's just a fucking convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
But we got these little like cigars, but I was reading them and it's like cigarellos.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was listening to the book, and first off, I'd never heard of cigarellos before, and then it popped up in this book.
You've never heard of cigarellos before? Wow.
I'm very...
I
don't smoke. I don't really am around people who smoke anything other than cigarettes. So I was just like... I'd never seen somebody smoke an actual cigar in person.
Really?
No. It's just not... It's not my field. It's not where I'm around. But once I started working there, it's like, obviously people be buying random crap. And then in this, he pronounced it cigarillo.
Yeah, he throws that little accent on it. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's how you pronounce it. That actually kind of makes sense.
Uh-huh.
I was like, they probably, considering how old like that would have been, it's like, so that's probably where that type of thing came from.
Oh yeah, that's not like a new industry.
But yeah, just a little tidbit. My brain went like, wow,
holy crap! What are the chances? The other day when you were talking about Delaware Indians?
Yeah.
You were like, never heard of it, and all of a sudden it's everywhere.
Yeah, where was the second thing that popped up?
I don't remember what you said.
So, in the book, parts of Glanton's gang, they have like just a bunch of races in it. They have Native Americans in the gang.
Yeah.
And like black people in the gang, right? But they're also going to be racist. But there's also Mexicans in the gang too.
Yeah.
And but they're all just going to be racist still. Yeah. But also occasionally, they're just amoral. That's all there is to it. So it's like they'll say anything at any moment. On one hand, you'll have like the leader of the gang agreeing like, yeah, he's just an N-word.
Oh yeah.
And they'll just
yeah.
be like laughing with the other dudes.
Wasn't the one like, oh, he can't
the
feel
cities.
pain. He's just that.
But then in the next one too, it's just like he's okay with it when the black guy, because there's a black guy, he just cuts off the head of a white guy.
Oh my gosh,
because he was
that
like,
was...
go sit over there with the other, non-whites.
Yeah.
And then he just cuts off the guy's head. That was a weird, intense moment.
That was so weird. I was driving while I was listening to that, and I was like, what? Like, I almost wanted to pull over and rewind it.
No, this is going to be a really chaotic listen. But here's the thing that I'm kind of assuming. If you clicked on this video, you probably have already read Blood Meridian, because if you haven't heard of it, then you're probably not going to care at all. And it's a niche thing where people really like it. And this is why I was anxious about it, because it's not people that really don't like it that are going to look out content for it. It's people who really like it. We're just sitting here bouncing between random moments here instead of
actually discussing the book.
Yeah. I was like, and this is a great book to do our first one on.
Fantastic. You're talking about the other
characters.
People of color in the gang.
God, the 4 characters. I can't believe I didn't even say who the 4 characters were after I made such a big spiel of that.
This is on you.
It is on me. But I feel like the main, actual group of characters are the kid, the judge, the ex-priest.
Oh, I forgot about him. Yeah.
He seemed like a big deal character because he talks a lot.
He
also.
does.
And I kind of have a pseudo theory about some things with them.
Dude, I have a wonky theory.
And Toadvine.
Oh, him. He was the ear guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was like the friend who their first interaction was like trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
Because they were walking on planks and they didn't want to step in mud or whatever.
Oh, him.
And then they burned down a building afterwards.
That's fine.
Just for funsies, pretty much.
If there's anyone with should have his picture in the dictionary next to unhinged, that guy.
He had issues. I mean, they all have issues.
I mean, they all have issues, but he was a special kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, he's like almost Joker-esque kind of crazy, because he would just do stuff to do it.
There was a couple weird things that he did, because he was the one that interacted with the judge in that one time when the judge kills, like, was it one of the Native American kids that he brought along after slaughtering a bunch of them? The judge is, like, brought along one of the kids. Yeah. And they had him with them in the camp for a little while, and then, like, the judge just eventually kills him. I think Toadvine was like, I'm gonna kill you now. And he's like, points the gun at him, and the judge is like, then do it.
Yeah, yep.
Like, shoot me or don't.
Just do it, yeah.
But Toadvine did that.
Okay. So, I forgot it was him.
He just has, like, weird one-off moments like that, where it's almost like, I hesitate to say humanity, but it's like, I feel like him and the kid almost have a little bit more than everyone else.
You're gonna put Toadvine ahead of the priest? Because at least the priest...
No, not the priest. I mean, he's also an amoral son of a bitch, too. Because because everyone is. They're all...
He had righteous indignation behind him.
At the very best, they're fully complacent.
Yes.
With everything. I felt like those were kind of like 4 really prominent characters. Like, Glanton was the leader of the gang, but I felt like he was almost never around. He was, like, very side-notey. Like, he would do things, but he didn't really stand out a lot. And I felt like that way about a lot of the characters. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, you're violent man, A, B, C, D.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you're the one with the ear, you're the one that likes to talk a lot, you're the one that doesn't
Black
show up
Jackson
ever.
And White Jackson.
Yeah, like...
I only remembered them because of those titles, Black Jackson and White Jackson. Mm-hmm. Which is the one, they hate each other because they both had the names, and the Black Jackson ended up beheading the other one because White Jackson was like, shit over there with the non-whites.
Also, how sharp was that knife? Because it was like
machete.
One swoop.
One swing, he was just like, and then his head came clean off.
Oh, okay.
And then nobody cared, too, and that was the funniest part.
Yeah, didn't even say, like, in the morning his torso was still there. It was still there,
but they left his boots. They took some of his stuff, but then they, like...
Left his boots.
Yeah, they left him, and they just didn't care. They were just... Well, that's the thing, too. They were just like, that's your guys' business.
We'll leave them to the buzzards. They'll clean up our mess. It's fine. So, have you ever watched Walking Dead? No. There's a point. I
was gonna say, wow.
So, I noticed a lot of similarities of Walking Dead in this
So you
book.
think he was inspired by it?
I really think so. Because, like, there's a point where there's a character named Daryl who's, like, the fan favorite, but in the beginning he was kind of feral. Like,
I was implying that Cormac McCarthy was inspired by The Walking
no,
Dead as a joke. Other way around.
Robert Kirkman was inspired by this. Because, like, well, you got the brutality aspect, but, like, so the character Daryl, he gets separated from the group, so he kind of goes to, like, he's like West Virginia mountain hick character.
Okay.
So, like, he's got a crossbow, and he will eat squirrels on the side of the road, you know, that type. But
all those West Virginians, y'all like to eat squirrels by the side of the road.
They all know it.
I get you.
But at one point, he, like, kills, like, a bunch of zombies. He cuts off their ears and makes a necklace and wears it as a trophy.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, holy crap, it's Daryl. And even
that one guy does do that.
Yeah,
and the necklace gets passed on like 4 times or something like
and they
that.
keep adding ears to it. I'm like, that's totally Walking Dead. But also I noticed that there's a lot of similarities in this in Red Dead Redemption, especially with the travel aspect.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was inspired by this as
This
well.
book, I feel like, stemmed a lot of different elements of different shows. Like even Hell on Wheels was an AMC show, which was super good. That was about the Transcontinental Railroad back in the day, you know. But since
back
it was
in
AMC,
the day when we were 5,000,
I was 6.
No.
But
I think probably a little bit.
Since it was on AMC though, it was brutal. Like they'd show the brothels and it was dirt and everyone had like not scurvy. What the crap? The STD that leaves all the marks on your face. What the crap? I can't remember what it's called. Syphilis. Everyone had syphilis.
Syphilis. You know, I was going to suggest it, but I was just like,
it's a really, really good show.
I was like thinking,
I feel like they drew a lot of
ancient
it.
One.
Because they also did a lot of Native American fighting, which I'm sure when they were making the railroad. But there was also characters that would do similar things in this book. So I'm like, oof, I don't like that, but I bet you this inspired a lot of different
probably
media things.
Because, like I said, it's pretty highly regarded. So it's like
I'm shocked I never heard of it. Like I knew Cormac McCarthy because of The Road, but not this.
I think The Road is kind of his more flagship like novel.
Yeah.
And because it also has the movie adaptation, which is a fun little tidbit about this book also, is there's been multiple attempts to try to get an adaptation for like a movie or TV, something like that. Movies, I think, primarily.
Oh, no.
But, well, that's the thing is, it's never been able to go through.
I can't imagine why.
Oh, yeah, because just like the content.
No, there's no softening any of it at all.
It's like, well, not without diminishing the stuff
story,
that what it's trying to get across.
I mean, message-wise, I mean, for sure, is definitely a powerful, like, holy crap, I can't believe we existed at this time.
Well, yeah, well, not only that, because also it's like, aside from all the other nightmare stuff in the setting, it's like, this is a very specific, hyper-nightmarish group of people.
Yeah.
So, it's like, it's not even just like a setting, and there's just no good guys. There isn't really like a plot per se. It's just a bunch of atrocities one after the other, and then riding on horses in the middle of the desert and dying.
And then random...
And seeing the brutality of just existence by itself, and then you have these people being like just malevolent on top of the brutality of just trying to exist to begin with.
Yeah, existing in the 1800s Wild West.
In the desert.
I'm sure it was super easy, and then all these 4 or 5 men come in and just demolish everything.
Where it's like, there was way more of them than that.
There had to have been, yeah.
Well, they go and, like, I don't think they ever, well, maybe they do give you the exact numbers, but I don't remember. But they go into the towns and they do recruiting fairly often.
Which
and
just
it's
makes
implied
it
that
better.
there's more people there than the named characters.
But it's still, they were 4 or 5 men that went into this town and was like, hey, we're going to do this. And they got people to be like, cool, I'm in.
Cool.
Like,
sounds good, man.
Like, what?
I think
what was in the water they were drinking?
They were also not being fully honest either, because like they're going to the Mexican cities and they're just like, you need money, you know how to shoot a gun, well, you know how to shoot an Indian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, ah. And then when they're going to the cities, they're being hailed as heroes and stuff too. So it's like,
yeah, they get fanfare for all their
Yeah.
violence.
well, I mean, obviously, because like even at that point, it's like they don't know. But that was another thing. Just when they're in the cities and they're like partying and stuff to the point where all the cities are like closing down,
Right?
And
They
everyone's
would break
locked.
towns.
Yeah, that was just like, good God. It's just a perfect depiction of just total nihilism.
Yeah.
Because it was like, these people exist for nothing. Oh, well,
No.
I mean, the judge has his own reasons, but that's a whole nother can of worms. I'm really hyping up the judge. I'm hoping that'll hook you people into listening longer. Like, oh,
Honestly,
hang on,
I'm
we're going to talk about the
excited.
judge.
I'm excited to get to the judge because I have theories and I'm probably way off. And
Yeah.
somebody better agree with me because otherwise we're going to have problems.
I am Iron Man.
I don't think it's very beneficial for us to go through like frame for frame about all the events of the story because it's almost not even really about that, I suppose. Like we kind of went over the gist of things.
Yeah. I mean, basically after the first 3, it's copy paste majority.
Right, until you get close to the end, then we got a couple notable things that happen.
then
When
some
they
stuff starts
when he
happening.
takes over the river, that's when things really start to change. That's when it gets to the end game, where he's like hoarding tons of money in like some fortress.
Oh,
When they take over the ferry.
The ferry. Yep. Yeah.
Like that's a distinct changing point because you can see when they're doing all this stuff, and Glanton gets like sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
They mention how he's just like being way more passive and crap. So it's like there's a fundamental change at that point where it's like instead of going out and just constantly raiding and pillaging and partying and stuff, he just kind of like, I just want to sit here on my money and do nothing
He
else.
basically got one,
Which is like the nihilistic thing. He's just like,
I'm
it's
done.
like he got sick of existence entirely, and he was even sick of the partying and all that
Right.
crap and all the chaos.
Because what fun is it
But
if
that's
you don't
like-
have someone to go home to?
But I guess I was trying to say before that's a big ass spider.
Death.
Holy
Holy death. Jeez, those ones bite.
Only if you poke and prod.
Yeah, or sleep. Just sleep. They don't bite.
Well, I don't plan on taking
Poke and
a
prod.
nap.
Peter Parker didn't poke and prod, and look what happened to him.
He gained superpowers. I was gonna say that's a bad reference. Like,
But he didn't do anything,
Bite me.
I meant.
oh.
Do you remember the
Just
statistic
gets a
when
disease.
Spider-Man first came out? They were kids getting bit by like black widows. Like the amount of hospitalization of spider bites, I guess, like went through the roof.
That's still better than the Superman stuff where they're jumping off buildings
Oh
and
my
out windows
gosh.
and crap.
This is why there's warnings to not bathe with a toaster. That's an actual warning on the label. Do not make toast in the bathtub.
That just felt like a kind of a jump from comic books and children to that, though. That just feels like
But it's the same principle. Like,
someone
oh,
not
hey,
having
a
the
comic
mental
book.
capacity to not do something that you wouldn't think anyone would ever do. Yeah.
Like, I see this cartoon character on paper
Yeah.
in bright colors with pow and wham on it, can fly. I can do it.
I see pow and wham every time I hit somebody. That would change the vibe of this book a lot. Every time any violence happens, they're like, bang!
Or when
Pow!
the decapitation is a thwook.
Yeah. Thwack! Snicked!
Oh, honestly, this would make a great graphic novel. Like, if Robert Kirkman, who did the Walking Dead comics, adapted it, it'd be
I am
great.
familiar with the art style.
Yeah,
That
that'd be
would
awesome.
be dope. He used a like really high contrast with this stuff. It's like very black shaded
Yeah,
and like
he
very
likes
high
his
definition
dark.
on the stuff.
It's really good. Now we're just gonna sit and stare at the spider. Like, my gosh.
I mean, he's on the move. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
well,
He's
he
like,
needs to move out.
he's clearly got. He's not paying rent either. So
Damn, that's rude.
I know.
At least buy me dinner. I just want food. Shush.
I was gonna say that's usually not the line that you.
Shh.
Man, I'm not gonna ever date the spider.
Some people.
Oh, I was gonna. Well, we were talking about Spider-Man. You know, the people be hitting hard on Spider-Gwen or whatever. I've seen some illustrations. Let's just say that.
Oh my gosh.
I totally didn't seek them out myself. No.
No, accidentally came across.
Accidentally, I don't know how. Why is Google recommending me this? That's still one. This is
no.
completely side tangent, but it is still the funniest thing ever. Whenever you see like posts from like these old dudes, there's like on like Facebook and crap, they're like, oh, Facebook. Why would Facebook recommend me this?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they just constantly recommending me strip bars?
Yeah. I went there one
It's
time
like,
for the wings.
Maybe it has something to do with your Google history.
I mean, granted, I will say sometimes the algorithm is so off.
Okay.
I don't understand. Occasionally. But sometimes they're not. Okay,
this is a real... this is actually one for basically what I was just saying, though. But I was on the Lord Battora, my channel. Not live or anything like that. But I was just on my homepage. I was managing the channel stuff, right? So when you're on the homepage,
yeah,
if your mouse scrolls over a video and it's just left there,
oh yeah,
it plays the video.
Yep.
And it counts it into your watch history, right?
Oh.
Okay. So I had one that was like, I think it was a YouTube short or something that was slightly sus, right? But since I hovered over it for a half of a second,
you watched it.
I watched it. I didn't actually watch it, but not that I really care one way or that. As far as you give, I'm an adult. I can watch it. No, but it was just YouTube. It's YouTube. It was just like a dance in I don't know, shorts or something like that. I can't remember. But then almost immediately, because I was still going back and forth because I was trying to manage my videos, and I was like going there and then checking something else, and then I'd go back to the homepage, and then it was flooded with like 100 of them. I was like, holy shit, YouTube! Good God!
No, Instagram does the same thing. So like I'll scroll through my feed, and like if you stop on a reel, it will just play the reel. And I must have stopped at some... I think I was watching somebody making a dress. The power of Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
They were making a dress for, I think it was a bridesmaid's dress. And I like watching processes of making stuff. So I think I watched it for, I don't know, a couple seconds. Like it showed how the end product was. I was like, okay, I'm done.
You're like, oh.
Now, because I watched 2 seconds of this video, my feed is nothing but wedding stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not in the market right now to be getting married. Like, why? And I realize it might be
like,
Valentine's in a couple weeks.
This is what you want, right? It is funny how hard it will push it, though. It's not like an occasional, like, whoa, well, you watched 2 seconds of that. You want to watch another 2 seconds? Like, occasionally, like a week later or something like that. It's like, no, this is what you're all about. I know it because you hovered. You hovered. Don't try to deny it. I saw what you did last summer. You hovered. That's how YouTube be.
It's for real.
I mean, Instagram, I've had a similar experience with Instagram too. But Instagram has other problems.
I know. Tell me all about it.
I actually made a post on Instagram about Instagram stuff because
really? I don't think I saw it.
I was watching videos of damn kittens, okay? Of like just cats being idiots, and that's almost exclusively what my Instagram was because cats. You know, I don't know. Instagram is my cat
Insert
fix.
cat meme here.
And then it randomly shows me war injuries of the dude's face, and it's like all matted and orbed and like burned and like it's just totally disfigured and stuff. And I was like, God damn! That escalated. I was like this. I was like really into it. I was like, oh, and then it's like, and he's like, this veteran needs your financial support or whatever. And I was like, no, why?
I need financial support for the therapy I now
I was going to say, now I need to get a therapist. And here's the thing, I don't even really have issues with dark or even graphic content. Like, I had points where I was just seeking it out of pretty much curiosity. And I was just like, let's see some atrocities.
Why not?
Just to see. And so it's like that type of thing. If I'm just like, oh, let's see some war thing, or if I like, maybe it's an intentional thing, like if you've ever heard of like the monkey, the chimpanzee owning lady.
Oh, Jane Goodall? Oh no, that's gorillas.
Yeah, not that. There's a lady in like Florida or something like that who had a chimpanzee and it bit her face off, basically.
Oh, her.
Or her.
Oh, okay.
It bit her. It killed her friend. Did it kill her friend?
No, yeah, it did.
I think it actually killed her
It
friend,
killed
or it
one-
ended up killing her friend. It might not have killed her immediately, but or maybe the estate was the one doing it. She got sued, but it chewed her face off, and it needed like a ton of reconstructive surgery.
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
So like, I wanted to see what the results of that was, and I was able to see it, but not just pop.
Right.
And then I was like, wow, that is a good warning against owning chimpanzees, which you shouldn't have to warn people about.
It's the toaster all over again.
Yeah. Well, it's not even like some rich people or something like that. It was
No,
like some
she was
lady in
like-
the backyard.
Yeah, and wasn't she in like a trailer park?
That's what my
Or was that the
instinct is
lion
telling me.
lady?
It might not be though, but it wasn't like, wow, this giant mansion and tons of space and
Or
oh, there's
exotic
the chimpanzee
animals.
in the chimpanzee room. It's just like, oh yeah, we just keep them on the couch. And it was just like, you shouldn't have to explain why wild animals
Dude, have
probably
you
should
seen the
be
ones?
in your house, except for that one alligator from that one guy. There's this one dude that has the nicest good boy alligator on the face of the planet. It is the most wholesome thing I've ever
I
seen.
have not seen that. I've seen the one where they're somewhere in one of the mountains. I think they're in the Rockies. They have a pet mountain lion. Like they accidentally rescued it thinking it was an abandoned kitten, and then it just kept growing and growing, and it's a mountain lion. And like he'll cuddle and he'll do the air biscuit thing, and this is the cutest thing ever. I'm like, I want one. He will eat me, but I want one.
Well, yeah. Well, mountain lions are more closely related to small cats. They're not actually.
Makes sense.
They're not even big cats officially.
They could kill you, but they're not a big cat.
It has to do with their roar.
Oh, because they have like a squeak.
Yeah.
It's
So,
the
like,
cutest thing.
I think it's that there's just some technicality. I think if I'm remembering correctly, it splits off between cats that roar, which are like lions, tigers, not bears,
I wanted to say it so
cats,
bad.
and then there's ones that don't. So it's like standard cats, house cats, cougars.
I don't know, jaguars. They kind of just like,
Jaguars are big cats.
yeah.
They're I think the family name is Panthera, technically.
Yeah, the panthers and whatnot.
And I think cheetahs are part of small cats too. They chirp.
Yeah, they have a weird call.
Wow. But like, you would probably be fairly safe with like a cheetah. Cheetahs are probably the safest big cat that exists, just because they're anxiety spheres and they're, but like, you can rehabilitate them. But they're like hyper stressed out in the wild and stuff because like they can chase something down, but they can't defend their kills from anything.
That's why they put them in trees.
Jaguar or leopards do that.
I thought cheetahs did too.
Well, they might, but I think they just take what they can and then leave.
I mean, maybe
before other things arrive.
If Discovery Channel would put actual animal shows back on, I might learn something. They don't show animal shows on Discovery or like Nat Geo anymore.
You know what? I'm gonna do a shout out for a YouTuber that I like, Casual Geographic. He has great videos. They're funny and they're really educational on top of it. But he has really, really good videos.
Oh, okay.
He goes over all of them, like with the chimps and stuff like that. Like he goes over like some incident stuff. And he's like, wild animals be wild animals. So like, you know, give them some respect and all that crap because there's so many stupid situations.
Where there was like the zoo guy on Saturday mornings.
There was a lot of good animal shows.
The toucan guy, or he had some bird, I forget. But there were all these animal shows on in the morning. Yeah, that one.
That I watched.
They're not on anymore, and I'm like, just because I'm an adult doesn't mean I don't want to learn about animals anymore. Like, it's rude.
Yeah, there are like two animal things that I watch. One is Casual Geographic, and the other one's Tier Zoo, which treats Animal Kingdom as just a video game. So they're like, where do these animals exist on the tier list?
Oh boy!
Like, these are fairly big channels on YouTube, but like, I'm sure if anyone's interested in animals, they would know what these channels are.
How did we get to this subject? Because
we are very. No, they're burrows.
I don't remember Burrows.
And
All
horses.
I remember...
And the horse that bit the other horse. And the horse
Okay,
that was
forgot that.
infected. There's a lot of
The
horses.
four.
Burros are just donkeys. So
I don't remember the donkeys. Probably because I was
they
traumatized by all the
don't call them
puppies.
donkeys. They call them burros.
Oh, the dogs.
Oh, that's right. There's dogs too.
Yeah, but none of them live.
Boy, where do we go from here? Let's just talk about the atrocities in the book
let's
real
go into
quick.
the horrible.
So-
I mean, other than the rape, pillage, and plundering, we also have
So
animal cruelty.
We're going to get
throughout.
into some specific scenes that also, well, it'll link into some of the character stuff. Consider this trigger warning for getting a little more maybe descriptive into some of the incidents and some of the stuff that happens. When they got on to like their first actual massacre,
The first. Count it first.
the
Massacre.
first massacre of actual Native Americans, not before they shifted gears to just
Everybody.
murdering, literally anybody. The depictions of that hit me in a different way, that I was just being like more just in tune with like just atrocity and like just feeling bad for
Right.
the
It was
Native
like it would
Americans in
hurt
general.
sometimes to read.
Just because it's like going through, it's like, and it's like even when they're still alive, these people would run through and it's just like they grabbed him by the face and then like they took the knife and they just had these bloody dried out scalps that were hanging from them, and then like some of them were taking trophies. Like there's one guy who would collect the ears off of them, but it's like it was disgusting, dude.
It was brutal. Like, I'm really glad, like, for the most part, the writing style is pretty dry. Because, like, there are some authors that they will, like, if you ever read, like, George R. R. Martin or Joe Abercrombie, like, they are very gritty writers, and, like, you can feel the deaths, I guess. At least I could. Where he's very dry. He's pretty matter of fact. I mean, he'll say, like, the blood squirted out of his stump of a neck.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't, like... You know, the hot gushing blood, you know, drip down my face, and like it's visceral.
Right.
It's more visceral.
What do you think was the part that just stomach churned you the most?
When the guy, was it the judge or was it the toad dude? I forget who it was, but somebody, they were in one of the towns, and a kid comes up and goes, "Hey, you want to buy my puppies?"
Okay.
And he's like, "I'll give you 2 coins or whatever for both the puppies."
Yeah,
I
remember
cool.
what we were talking about. And it was worth like a dozen of the dogs or something like that.
Yeah, they were like some cream
way
of the crop.
overpaid for, and that was in one of the towns after they got paid already.
Yeah.
I think it was near the end of their partying or whatever.
Yeah,
and
they were like getting ready to
go.
leave, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And so, the judge, he...
Was it the judge that bought it?
It was the judge.
Okay.
The judge bought the puppies because it mentions how he just, like, picks them up.
Yeah, he just picks them up and then takes them to a bridge, throws them, uses them at target practice, and when he misses, he hunts them down in the river, and all you see are blood spots in the water. I was like...
Was that what happened?
Yeah, he threw them over a bridge.
Well, I remember he threw them off the bridge. I thought there was a different character who shot them.
I don't think so. I think he went and found it.
I thought it was a different gang member who was watching, who then shot the puppies as they were floating down the river.
I mean, I know the judge got one in the air, but I thought yeah.
I don't quite remember.
I was driving, so I was like...
I'll trust you.
What?
Like I said, I was randomly getting lost on certain months, but I remember that event and the dogs getting like shot as target practice.
Multiple times.
I thought he just... because I was like, wow, I don't know what's more messed up, just him buying the dog and just throwing it in the river.
Oh, I know. Like, I was like, holy crap, he threw it in the river. And then it's like, he took out his gun and started target practicing. I was like... Because I think didn't one of them have a new gun too? Like he wanted to test, like he was sighting it in or something.
Was that what it? I might be also getting events mixed up with other events because there's so many atrocities.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's really, I think. Maybe that was the guy on.
I remember him throwing it in the river, so it's like at that point, it's like, yeah, you murdered puppies regardless.
Yeah.
It's just you also decided to shoot them afterwards, you know.
Oh no, he started shooting them in air. And I remember, I think he said he was frustrated or something because he missed. And that's when he was like, he kept shooting until he saw red in the water.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Yeah. That's right, the red in the water line.
I was like, what the crap?
And then the kid was like watching, or the kid comes back and like sees them or something.
Something. I don't remember. Maybe he sees them in the water. I don't know. It was like hurt my soul a little bit.
Well, because that's even another thing too. It's like, well, it's like you have innocent people and whatnot, but then it's like when it's just like for no reason with these animals too. It's
No,
just like,
and
it just
puppies.
shows
They were literally
the
puppies.
absolute complete amorality that these people had, except for Glanton and his dog. He really liked his dog.
I don't remember them having a dog.
Glanton, that's great.
Gray's doing something bad.
It's actually somebody who just walked in and was like, I'm here for the party.
Is that a litter box? No, that's your door.
Oh, that's probably my mom.
If you're a person, speak. Well, if we die, we're on
We're talking
camera.
about Blood Meridian, and then
Do you realize that the first Terminator, like in the future, takes place in 2029? Yeah! I was like, I don't like
Dang.
that! I don't like that at all!
I only saw like part of like the second Terminator. I've never seen the Terminators, which is insane
I
because
mean,
like I've
the first
seen
two
a lot
are for sure the best.
of like sci-fi and like all those classic 80s
Yeah.
movies and stuff. But I haven't seen the Terminators.
And it's James Cameron. You have got to.
I know, and I've heard you can see like Schwarzenegger's thingy.
You can. You
Yeah.
can see all of his stuff, actually.
Nice. Did you
And
hear that, chat? Now, why is my YouTube algorithm messed up?
It's just gonna be shots of Schwarzenegger's butt everywhere.
Nice. But, I
Okay.
just said but. Ha! We already talked about the kid a little bit. We talked about Toad Vine a little bit. Let's talk about the ex-priest a little bit first.
Oh, yeah, and the Delaware Indian dudes too.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say.
I mean, they were there.
They're part of the
basically, and
gang members.
They're brutal. There, we talked about the Delaware Indians.
The Delaware Indians are a name, like, there's not like a group of Indians actually called Delaware Indians. It's a slang term from people who just don't want to deal with all people like me. Would
We're
be like,
nuts.
there's a lot of different tribes
Mm-hmm.
along, was Delaware River, I guess.
I mean, the Delaware is a state, and it was a state even at that point. So
I don't think it was the state though. I think, well, maybe it was. I don't know. But
it was
whatever.
part of the original 13.
It was just a slang word to refer to a regional group of Indians along a certain area. So, but like they existed, and they also helped kill
They were terrible.
everyone and make money off of it also. So there's not a whole lot to say. They didn't really have personalities.
Not really. They were just there.
I don't think they even really like say anything. I can't remember them saying a single word. There is one interesting scene that has nothing to do with the Indians. That
This whole podcast.
also, like, they're constantly referring to them in the book as just Indians or worse words. So you know that's why I'm going to keep on calling them Indians, because it is as referred to as in the books. But this is completely side note. When there's one of them gets shot with an arrow, one of the bandits,
Yeah.
and this is actually will link in with the priest. So the ex-priest was one of the gang members, and he is frequently like almost advising and talking to the kid to beware about everyone else in the group. Because like the kid regularly has these moments of slight like benevolence to other people in the gang, where he's just like, they're like, come on, help me, you bastard pieces of shit, you sons of fuckers,
all the things.
and all just nonstop, and everyone is just like, it's like they're not even saying no, they're just like watching these dudes, like they'll be like bleeding out, like somebody help me, and they're like,
No.
But the kid does a number of things that like he tries to help people in the gang, so he's like he's not like as far gone, you almost want to say, as some of the people in the gang, I guess. Or maybe he's just naive, I guess. Which is kind of what the ex-priest kind of implies. He's just like, you're a damn fool.
Right.
Whenever he tries to help somebody, because this one guy has an arrow through him, so it's like, you need to push the arrow through.
Yeah.
And the kid volunteers to do it, and he helps this guy out. And then the ex-priest comes up to him, and he's like, you're a damn fool, don't you know that he would have taken you with him?
Mm-hmm.
So if something went wrong during that
Like he
the thing, if he didn't do it just right, and so that would actually heal him, like he bleeds out or something, he's like, he would just kill you too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why no one else would do it, because it's like, that's just how they are. These are just all bloodthirsty, they're amoral people. But the ex-priest like will regularly advise the kid to just be wary of everybody, even down to this other character that we're talking about, the judge. He warns the kid about the judge frequently.
Oh, I loved how he talked about the judge. Like, he was like this mythical
creature. He's just like
the judge.
Well, he almost said it. He's like this whole, and we haven't even described the judge yet, but he warns the kid to like don't even like speak of him because he has ears of a fox and stuff. But the judge ends up being quite an antagonist towards the kid. Yeah. The further into the story you go. So the ex-priest is almost like within the terms of the story of a nicer character, I guess.
He reminds me of like Robin Hood, where they had the Friar Tucket. You know, he was kind of like their moral compass, but this is a much darker version of Friar Tucket.
It's not like he was cared about anything else. It's not like he told Glenn to like maybe we should be nicer or something like that.
Yeah,
he didn't offer any moral guidance to anyone. I mean, he didn't offer moral guidance to the kid either.
No.
He just warned the kid frequently about everyone else in the group.
Right.
So there's something within him who's just like, this kid needs to be warned, which is like almost like the ex-priest is kind of like, you're not completely gone yet.
Right. Your soul isn't totally blackened yet.
Something like that. And I think you kind of get hints of that a little bit at the end when they change him to the man.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like he's not like a good person, but you can see some things that are slightly different. Like he tries to help an old... I mean, the lady ended up being dead. But he is like trying to help out an old lady. That's great.
I'm like, now what?
But there's like a massacre around her or whatever, and he seems like, listen, I've had a hard life or whatever. I'm going to get you out of here. And that's not something that any one of them would have done. He wouldn't have done something like that before it when he was referred to as the kid. And like, that's definitely not something that the gang would have done.
Right.
So like, there's some semblances of differences there compared to anyone else who would just be like, oh, kill her, take the scalp. Right.
Which really reminded me of Red Dead, because the characters are like, have you ever played Red Dead Redemption?
So I've watched some gameplay of it though, so I'm familiar with the story.
So you know, like you could be terrible and have the bad meter, or you could be a chaotic neutral, which is how I play it, or like the saint or whatever. So like depending on how you play it, I mean, it sounded so much like Morgan as that character. I'm like, I would bet money that they based Morgan off of the kid or the man or whatever.
Which I told you that I watched one video about it too, but they did touch on that too, where they're like, when it comes to like all the violence and stuff like that, he's not really in the middle of it, like especially with the atrocities.
Right.
So they're like, it almost leaves you free to just imagine and decide how good or bad comparatively to everyone else, because he's still complacent no matter what.
Right. Like he didn't try to
the kid
stop.
actually is. It's like you could envision him being and like kind of participating in some of the stuff, or just not whatsoever, which was kind of interesting. But then I saw another part of it was just like, but also it's like they kind of heavily imply that he wasn't really involved in the actual killing, more except for just
he's never named. Like the kid went and dragged this person
for like
out,
self-defense thing. He like shoots people who are shooting at him.
Yeah.
But he never like blows the head off of a random old lady.
Or randomly decapitates somebody.
Or just randomly killing somebody because they said something off or anything like that. I mean, he threatens people, but so he's kind of in a weird neutral place. But anyway, we're going to talk about the judge, who is by far the focus of the book, even though he's not in every single one. But you can tell even when they're writing it, the author gives him special attention for the judge.
He gets a whole backstory.
He's in the first scene.
Is he really? Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. He is in the first scene, was wild.
Yeah, the first scene he is in, he goes into like a revival tent thing. Yeah. So they're like doing like a great revival type thing where they have a tent up and they're just preaching days on end or whatever.
Yeah, they used to do those back in the day.
Yeah, and the judge walks in. And he's described as being a super pale, giant man with tiny hands and a like bald head, right? So he just looks weird, also, with also superhuman strength. Because there's a part where he's like bench pressing a meteorite, and throwing it. Yeah. They were using the meteorite as an anvil earlier, and that was all on a dare.
Yeah.
Well, and there's another scene where he crushes somebody's skull in his hands.
Yeah.
So it's like, this guy is really weird and like just outlandish, and he is such a presence throughout all of it. But he just walks up to the front of the pulpit, and he goes into these speeches that are like pastor-like, like sermon-like, and he just like, this man over here is a child molester. And he was in this place when he did it. And he's the one. And the pastor who's doing the message is like, he's talking about like, beware of the devil or something like that. And he was like, and here he is. So the book itself, on the very first chapter, points at this guy as like, here's the devil.
And he really is.
And he really is. And once you get all the way through to the end, it's like, holy crap.
Because isn't that one time when the priest is talking to the kid about the judge? He's like, I've heard tales where even if you speak the judge's real name, he'll show up in that town.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, what is this thing? Or the weird ritual he did with the raven feather and he did something with ash, made of paste, and he went and sang out in the rain or something. Do you not remember that? He did like this whole ritual thing.
I remember when they... I don't remember Raven Feather, but
I could be making
I remember
misremember that one. But
this is what the ex-priest was talking about, because he's telling the kid about the first time that he met the judge. There's that spider again.
Oh my gosh! He went back where he was.
He just did a whole circuit. But he says the first time they meet the judge, he's sitting on a boulder in the middle of nowhere while they're running away, I think, from some Native American group or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's just like, can I come with you? I just walked here. And there's like no other rocks or anything. And he apparently brought the boulder with him or something.
Yeah, it's just there. Yeah.
And so that's when they bring him along. Like he and Glanton talk, and they for some reason meet some understanding. And they're all walking, and he's got this journal, and he's constantly like taking notes and like writing pictures, which, this is like pre-Civil War. So it's not like no one else could barely read anywhere else, like in the group.
There was a select few that could read and write, let alone sketch and...
Well, especially where they were.
Yeah.
And he leads them up to a volcano. He's like picking and like doing weird things the whole way around. He's like burning stuff. He goes into the caves and collects bat poop.
The bat poop, yep. That's why it was not a raven feather.
Yeah, it's not bat poop.
In my brain, it just did that.
Yeah. But and then he's like burning it to like get stuff out of it, and he's like strips at the top of the volcano, and he's making this paste with the guano and like charcoal, and he puts it and dries it out in a layer for a while, and then he's like, no, before that he's like mixing it in a bowl, and then he starts peeing in it, and then he tells everyone else, pee in it.
Yeah.
And then he's like mixing it all with his hands and crap, and they're all like, this is the end, because they're cornered pretty much at the top of this volcano, and they can see the natives coming up.
The one was shot too. Isn't that when he got shot in the leg, I think?
Could have been.
They were injured.
Well, there's multiple injuries throughout the whole thing, so it's like it's possible. I can't remember. I only remember the arrow one, but that one was modern day.
I feel like they were injured though.
This one was a flashback. They could have had injured people in the group. I don't remember. I just remember what the judge did.
Yeah, because that's...
He's mixing it all, then he's drying it out, and then he's like mixing it up, and then he puts it in like the gun, and then he made gunpowder on the top of a volcano and gives them like deliverance, essentially. Like a dark deliverance. Like
the bullets don't end either. Like it goes way farther than a regular shot or whatever.
They say it shot way better and more accurate than regular gunpowder does.
They're like, just pick your target and shoot. It won't matter if you're actually aiming. It will hit its target.
Yeah, it's just like, well, what is this guy? Right? And that's what everyone says. It's like everyone in the gang, they're like, we have no clue what the hell this guy is and what he's like. They just kind of let him do his thing constantly.
Yeah, he's just there. He's not our leader.
He knows tons of languages.
Yep.
He knows, like, they show you at least 3, 4, 5 different languages. Dutch. I think
Dutch
they mentioned
German. Was it maybe Russian even too?
Maybe. Mexican or Spanish.
Yep, he knew Spanish.
English.
Yeah, I think he knew some of the Indian languages.
Yeah. Yeah, because he could
would talk, yeah. It was like, if he's not the actual devil in this story, then he's a lackey.
Well, and not only that, so also in the video I watched, they said that Cormac McCormick McCarthy. Yeah. We're going to make some biscuits now. We have a story to go right with it. But his inspiration for the character was apparently Satan.
That tracks.
From Paradise Lost.
Really? I haven't read that one, but I think I just got it.
I think his intro or something like that is also with the volcano.
Oh.
So it's almost like a 1-for-1. But then also I was like, oh, that really makes sense with the start where they're just like, here he is, the devil. But it's like, obviously within the course of it, it's like it doesn't seem like he's like the devil, but almost like somebody who is just like, I love the devil.
No, for real, no.
Like the devil's prophet, something.
Like a lackey. Because, my theory is, like, all the stories, because I probably put way too much faith into this priest, but I feel like as a priest, he does terrible things, yes.
Yeah.
But he's also not a liar. So the stories that he's telling, he's like, if you say his name, he appears. So that's like, call upon the devil and he appears.
Well, he just seems to be everywhere too. And they also reference how it's like, and everyone has a story.
And everybody has a story. And he was like, I met someone 15 years ago who was ancient. Yeah. He was an ancient, I forget what he said, like in his 80th year or whatever. And he can remember seeing the judge as a child.
Well, not only that, but at the end, the judge appears at the very last chapter with the kid.
Yeah, he's there again.
And he was like, and he looks exactly the same as he ever has.
Right. No, I totally think he's like, some sort of entity.
Yeah, I think he's heavily just trying to sell how otherworldly he is.
Oh, and he does a great job.
And even like his character, it's like he's not like a traditional character, as he's just some entity.
Right.
Right?
I'm so glad that was actually a thing, because I was like, am I crazy?
He's terrifying. Also, that's the other thing, is he smiles a lot. They say like he's got these white teeth, which you like, compared to everyone else in the jank West,
right,
they're all missing.
Piece of stick.
Yeah, it's all like these black rotten teeth. They're drinking nothing but whiskey and smoking 5,000 cigarillos.
Yeah.
And he's just got like this wide white teeth. And he's just constantly smiling.
Smiles, yeah.
And anytime he says something, someone responds in a way that's like ignorant or disrespectful or something like that, he's just like, Glanton and all of his gang, it's just like, we gonna kill and we gonna buy booze and women and party until it runs out, and then we're gonna do more.
Mm-hmm.
And then the judge, he's got a whole other MO. He's not necessarily just in it for the money. And you see it like when we talked about the dog, because he's the one who's
target practicing puppies.
Yeah, target practicing on puppies and throwing them into rivers just for funsies. But
it's not even the first time he does it.
Overpays it intentionally too. So it kind of shows that it's like he doesn't value the money whatsoever. He's just values the violence, which in one of his sermons, because he goes into these sermons out of nowhere too. They'll be at the campsite and he's like, I'm going to tell you all a story. And they goes into this huge spiel about like war.
Uh-huh.
And he literally, like, it's a whole chapter of a monologue where he's debating with people debating is a very loose term, because they're like, you crazy judge.
Like
that's almost all that they can ever say.
Them there, but they can't say anything because the judge will kill them.
Well, also it's just like, because some of them were there for the volcano thing, and also he's like, Glanton has put him in like second in command essentially.
Yeah.
So like whatever dealing he had was Glanton.
Sort of.
Well, they mentioned that they like talk in private. They don't say what they say.
Yeah.
And then he starts following him.
Yeah.
So, and then he's like the second in command from there on out, pretty much. And that's kind of weird too, because that almost is like a deal with the devil type thing. It was like, oh yeah, I'll give you riches and power, and I'll deliver you from all these evil situations as long as you keep creating war. Because his whole thing is war. He's like, there's nothing worth doing outside of war. That's his whole spiel.
I mean, horsemen. One of the 4 horsemen.
Hey, that's an interesting angle. He's just one of the 4 horsemen.
I just thought of that, but I'm a genius, I'm pretty sure. Not that any of you have clearly never had that idea either.
Yeah.
This book has been around for 50 odd, or at least 25 years.
Well, I was 85.
It was 85, so 60 years? Well, he can do
15.
math. Because it's 2025.
Yeah, 40 years. Then it would be.
Was it 40?
40? 15. You can do math. 15 plus 85 is 2000. So then you add 25. So yeah, that's it's 40 years.
Okay, so yeah.
Although this does say it's 25th anniversary edition.
Yeah, but I don't know when it was printed.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like I have a 10th anniversary of something that was printed 15 years ago. He says too, like that, it really stuck in my head. I was supposed to go back and find it, which I never did.
Yeah.
But he's talking to the kid, I think.
He's
talking to somebody.
He's interacting with the kid a lot.
So it probably was the kid.
Throughout the whole thing.
He asked,
which is also creepy as hell.
It really is. Like the whole, like, I'm going to get into your head thing.
Well, not just that. There's a lot of other stuff too.
But the kid is asking him, you know, like, what are you writing or what are you drawing or whatever. And he's watching a bird.
Let me show you.
Yeah, let me show you. I'm pretty sure he's watching a bird. He goes, birds insult me.
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like, what? He goes, I don't like how they have free will. I don't like how they can go off on their own. I wish they would be extinct as a species.
He wanted them all to be locked up in zoos at the very least or something.
Yeah. He's like, they insult me by their free will.
Well,
what?
Because another one of the things that he does too is it was in one of his spiel. I think somebody asked him, and maybe it's in the same discussion even, but they ask him, why do you do all this studying and stuff? They're like, no one can learn everything. It's like, anything that exists without my knowledge exists without my consent.
Yeah.
And he's just like he's like, and then he like sticks his hand on the ground. He's like, this I claim as my own. And it's just like, holy crap, this dude.
So you really don't know, like, do you have a
But
secret?
that's why he's obsessed with the knowledge and stuff, because he wants absolute power and control over everything in the name of war and stuff. So it's like, even when it comes to all the animals and all that,
right?
He just like, he wants nothing to have free will whatsoever. And which also is interesting. So remember those two that they recruit from one of the villages? There's a dude and his mentally handicapped brother that is being treated as a sideshow exhibit.
Yep.
The book just refers to him as the idiot.
Yep.
So I'll probably refer to him as the idiot. Just
that was his title.
That's all they refer to him as the book.
I totally forgot about that poor kid.
But at one point they I think it was some of the natives or something like that try to free him. They buy him and dress him up or something.
No,
or at the ferry.
We were like gypsies or something. It was like a group of women
like that. Yeah.
And this elder woman was like, "You're not treating this poor boy like that." She went and took the cage, took him and threw him in a river, and bathed him and took care of him. And the guy was like, "Why?" He was perfectly fine in his filth. Right.
Well, the brother or whatever. But he also didn't care because he's like, oh, fine, have him.
Yeah. He was throwing on me, you can take him.
But, that didn't really last that long either because he didn't care about the suit, I guess. But, eventually, going back to the judge and some of the plot events, this major spoilers, I guess. They eventually get to a point where they are at the ferry and Glanton is being weird. He's getting sick of
all of it.
Just all of it. He doesn't want to move around anymore. So they hijack a ferry and they start just overcharging people to use the ferry. They start just straight up robbing people at the ferry nonstop and then sending them back into the wilderness to die pretty much without anything. And he's just hoarding massive amounts of gold and treasure and guns and stuff. And they say he didn't even care and they barely saw him at that point.
He's became paranoid.
Every day he would empty buckets of gold and treasure that they collected from everyone into his personal quarters or whatever. At one point I don't really remember what happened same night, but one of their men leaves and he gets like put in prison or something like that, and then Glanton and a couple of the others leave to like get him back, I think. And
I don't remember.
well, and because he puts Judge in charge, and then when they come back, he's wrapped up in like these white robes with nothing underneath, and like I think one of the Black Jackson, is also in the robes, and he's sitting over everything, and the place is like insane.
Yeah, okay,
And
that
like
sounds
the captain
familiar.
of the guard dude who like they kind of like usurped control over because they made like a bargain with him so that they can just start criming it up.
As one does.
Yeah, as one does, and being horrible. He's just like that man. That I think he doesn't say anything else.
Yeah, he's just
He's like that man. He's evil,
and that's
it's
it.
like it's like the whole place has just gone to hell. But he's just sitting there at like the top of the hill with these whack ass robes, and he's just like, just sitting there.
Yeah, okay. No, when you said that, because when they talked about him standing on a hill with a robe, it reminded me of that statue in Rio, I think.
Oh, the Jesus statue.
Yeah, I was like, oh, because
Yeah.
it did. It sounded just like that, but with evil.
Right. Yeah, it's just weird because he's just like standing over everything.
Uh-huh.
He's just like looking at the chaos that he's created, and he's just like proud of it or whatever.
Yeah, dance monkeys,
But then
dance.
I think it's the same night when Glanton gets back is when all the natives around attack, and Glanton gets killed. But the judge is like expecting it because he's got a cannon in his arms, and he
He's just
escapes
with
the idiot, and because he takes the idiot with him.
Yeah,
But
it becomes like
he
a
likes
pet.
the idiot,
Yeah.
and I think a part of that could just be because he's just like, oh, you're just completely complacent.
He's moldable.
Yeah, well, he's just never a threat whatsoever.
Well, he was violent though. Like when the women took him out of the cage, his brother was like, dude, he like attacked some person and whatever. That's why he's in the cage.
Oh,
But then the woman was like, that's because he's in this condition. Like you would attack, like a stray dog would attack if presented with kindness or something like that. So he's also like, he's unstable, but also he's moldable. So like if you were to take someone who is as messed up as that poor kid was and be like, hey, you know, if you do this and this and this, then I will give you a puppy, or
Right.
something easily moldable. And I'm sure that he ended up somewhere terrible.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, because he just disappears afterwards, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever told what happened to him. Not that I remember.
It's that same night that they attack, and it's heavily implied that Judge is the one who was behind the attack. Like, he told them to attack.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's also kind of weird that he was just ready for it also.
Mm-hmm.
But
which he always is. He's never injured ever.
But it was like, okay, so Glanton gets lazy and isn't really into like killing for the sake of killing and just causing chaos and constantly fighting and just murder.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's just like robbing and just kind of hoarding treasure. And now all of a sudden, the second he's not in charge, it just all goes to hell and he dies.
Yeah.
So it's almost like going back to when they first were just kind of whispering and you don't really understand what their agreement is. It's almost like as long as you keep on doing this, it's like
profitable. Yeah.
It's like the trade. It's like you'll constantly win, you'll survive, it'll bring you riches and all that. As long as you do my will. It's almost like some sort of like dark bargain type thing.
Oh, Crossroads Demon.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then it goes on further because after they're on the run for a while, because like there's almost nobody escapes that. There's like 3-4 people. The ex-priest Toadvine, the kid, and the judge, and one other guy who was the guy that they went to save from prison or whatever, but he broke out on his own.
Yeah,
because he like stole a couple horses or something like that too.
But he was only like a side, like he wasn't one of the main ones, I don't think.
No, I think he only really showed up near that end.
Yeah, he was an add-on basically.
Brown? Is his name Brown? Something like that. I don't remember. He doesn't really do anything of note. He's just remember there. Except for being horrible like everyone else.
It's really hard to differentiate between all the horrible.
But they have them while they're all fleeing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they get to a well, and the kid, and the ex-priest and Toadvine are like drinking in the well or whatever, and they like get out of the well, and like they start to like go away or something like that when the judge, I think they were fleeing from natives who were chasing them down also.
Yes.
Because they chased them after they raided like this fortress thing that they had built.
Yep.
After that whole scene with the judge before. And now the judge is like walking the idiot in the middle of the desert with like a clay hat that they made to protect them from the sun and stuff. And like, was it like an umbrella made of skin and bones?
Yes.
Something like that.
It was like animal carcasses pieces. Yeah.
And then he's like going to he's like, oh, is there water down there or whatever? And he's like goes down and everyone's like getting out of the well. Because they're like, at some point, they're just like all terrified of him. And it's like, oh, he escaped out of that?
Yeah.
And it's almost like they also realize like that can't be a coincidence or something. Because all of a sudden, like everyone's just like tension about him. They're like, this guy's going to kill us or something. Well, the ex-priest very much.
Oh, he didn't like him from the beginning. But
he already didn't like him, yeah. But they're like, he wants to buy Toadvine's hat. And he's just like, there's a price on everything. And he ends up selling him the hat because he's like giving him like, I'll give you 500 pieces of gold or whatever. Yeah, it was like a
ridiculous amount, yeah.
But then they're like, oh, the top and judge is just like, come on, it's safe. You can come drink the water. You can come down with the well. It's everyone can have the water. And then the ex-priest snaps. And he's just like, you'll never have another chance like this. Shoot him now. Because he's the kid at this point is the only one with the gun. I don't know where the cannon went. He probably just dropped it off because it was a cannon.
I was just saying, are you going to
carrying it throughout the desert? Yeah, that's a lot to carry. And he probably only had like one shot in it anyway.
Two
shots, something like that. But so like the kid is the only one with a gun at all at this point, like a pistol. And the ex-priest is like, you have to do it now. You have to kill him. He's like, don't you understand that there's no other chance?
Yeah, he's vulnerable right now.
Because he's like sitting in a pit in a well, unarmed, because he didn't have a gun either. And the judge is just kind of like smiling still. And like the kid doesn't do it, and they end up having to run from him. Like Toadvine is like left behind.
He's hurt. I think
he is injured or something.
I think he was shot in the leg or something. Because I remember them saying he was limping and.
Yeah.
The kid kept asking him, like, do you want to stop? Like, do you want to just sit here and die? And the guy's like, no, like, I can't. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
But he does eventually die.
Yeah. But there was, like, such an ominous presence with Toadvine being left behind with the judge there. And
you don't actually know what happened exactly.
Yeah.
Like, the rule of...
Well, he died. He's dead. They show him dead.
he died.
Later. But it was from the Mexican government, I think.
But...
And then later, the guy who was escaping the cell is coming back the other way with the horses, and he's like, is there a well down that way? He's like, yeah, Judge is there. And he's like, Judge? Is he unarmed? That's the first question. Is he unarmed? And he's like, yeah.
Isn't it that same guy at the very end? I'm pretty sure it was the guy that broke out. Like, it's like years later, isn't it?
That's the dude who had the ears.
He ends up with the ears. Toadvine had the ears.
No, I thought the dude on the horse had the ears. I think it was the dude on the horse.
Well, there's a guy at the very end. They're at like an execution or something, and the kid is talking, or not the kid, the man. Yeah. Later, and he notices a ring of ears, and he asks this guy, like, "Where did you get this?" He goes, "Oh, I won it from a guy in a bar." Do you remember that?
No.
Because I was like, "Wait a minute."
The kid bought it.
Well, maybe after he makes it from that guy.
Well, because once the guy is dead. They find Toadvine and that other guy who had the horses like hanged or something in the Mexican government, and the kid sees the necklace of ears and he buys it from the jailer.
So then the jailer must be like, oh, I got it from a guy at the bar.
Well, no, the jailer got it because they killed the guy who had it. Maybe the guy had it.
Somebody from the bar ended up having it because it changed hands so many times.
It did. It changed hands like 3 or 4 times or something like that. But
either way, the ears... They had a journey.
They did.
And I'd love to know exactly how those ears got from the very beginning, and then it like...
By the end, they were like black nubs.
Yeah, and they were like it was unrecognizable.
Nobody believed that they were ears to begin with.
But it was supposed to bring good luck.
Yeah, well, something like that. I don't know.
That's what he said. He's like, I won 10 shillings or whatever.
The original people were just like... collecting trophies because they were sick, but
for real.
But then it was like,
okay, though, if you were at like an antique show, or not a show, like a farmer's market thing where they have like, you know, all kinds of things. And if someone says, hey, that's a necklace of ears, but it doesn't look like ears, wouldn't you be a little bit curious to buy it and have it analyzed?
To have it analyzed, yeah, I guess. But also terrified. Because if it is that person, I would be putting in a tip for the FBI. For sure. I was just like, if he's just like, how do you know it's ears at that point? If it just looks like little black pieces of charcoal or something like that.
Right.
You know?
Especially there's so many like swindler, like even now fake stuff on the internet all the time. But like, also, I'd be curious. And if it was only like a couple bucks, I'd be like, okay.
It would almost be like a questionable thing too. I'd be just like, if they had told me that this is human body parts and I bought it from you, would that be illegal? Even though I'm just like kind of want to know if you're actually telling the truth?
Yeah, unless they have it analyzed. But if it's like, what do they call it? Provenance, where it's like you tell the history of like a painting or a history of whatever.
Oh, maybe.
But it's not proven.
If it was like a historical artifact at that point, but they're not just like, they're human and that's all they have to it. You know, if they're like, oh, this was passed along from gypsies from years ago or something like that, that might be a little different. But I mean, it would still be
so curious. Like, I would totally fall for that scam. Because I would have to. You would have to buy it and be like, send this off to some lab.
I might be a little too superstitious for that type of thing.
Oh no, I would never enter my house because that thing is clearly haunted.
I was gonna say, it's like, dude,
that stays in a glass box in the backyard.
A necklace of ears. And if it ended up being legit, if you had it analyzed, and I'd be like, well, I'm cursed.
No, if that's the case, because before I bought that, I would have been like, I need your name, phone number, a place I can get a hold of you.
I just need your information so I can know where to send the FBI.
Right. I'm doing a service to society. Okay.
So the judge ends up hunting down the kid and the ex-priest, and he's like trying to kill them on the field, and it's not really clear why, except for
I think it's because they know him.
Just because they know who he is?
Because you can't, I mean, it's like pirates back in the day. They would kill a whole ship but leave one alive so that they could tell the story, and that's how the legend grows and grows and grows.
Okay. Oh, so
that was my thought.
Maybe does he just want to kill one of them or both of them?
Maybe it depends on who lives. Like, if he happens to kill one and not the other, then, you know, it's a good day.
Well, because so he says that he didn't kill Toadvine and he didn't kill the other guy.
But they are dead.
They are dead. But the Mexican government is the one that killed them.
Right, which he probably let him there anyway.
Right, well, that's a possibility, too.
Like, he probably didn't have to kill them because they were already going to die.
But that's the thing, is, like, you don't know one way or the other. You're only left to speculate. Dr. Pepper!
The power!
You're only left to speculate. So it's like, did he tell the truth and he just had nothing to do with it? He just traded with them and then let them be on their way. And then when he's telling them, it was like, no, I'm not going to kill you. He's just shooting them to get their attention. Practice. Be a dick. He doesn't actually hit any. Oh, does he hit the ex-priest? I think he wings the ex-priest when he ran.
Like, yeah, there was like
he does like a makeshift bone like crucifix thing because he's all of a sudden like, you are just the devil. He like snaps again. And then he gets like shot or something.
Yeah, I feel like he gets winged or something.
But it's like, it's not 100%. Well, no, by the end, I guess it's very clear.
The end is it's not an end though.
Well, he's dead.
He's dead. Well,
the man is dead.
I mean, yeah. But it's still open.
Beyond recognition.
The epilogue is like, it's following the judge.
It's following the judge. Like, the judge was the main character the whole time.
Right.
Which is what you get, like, the kid is the main character. But it's like, the story, no, it's the judge, dude. Because, like, the story has so much specific attention and stuff being paid to the judge.
Oh, yeah.
But they hunt them down. Kid gets away. That's long story short. And then he, like, turns into the man, and has nightmares of the judge forever after. Oh, he's in prison for a while, too.
Oh, is he? I must have missed
that. The kid is in prison. The judge isn't. No. But the judge shows up in a fully, like, dressed suit in the same town, and he's just like, I've been talking to you since you were just joining and you're a kid or whatever.
Oh.
And he's like reaching through the bars, like, just come here. Just come here.
I missed that. I don't remember.
And the kid stays in the back. He's like, well, I'm not going to hurt you. And he's just like, just wants to get his hands on the kid.
It must have to do a physical contact thing to make his powers work. I
Well,
wonder,
you
'cause-
might not have picked up on something, but I probably wouldn't have either if it wasn't for the video I watched.
See, I feel like I need to go and
So
watch stuff now.
there is strong implications. It is never straightforwardly told, but if you're paying attention from the very start to the very end, that oftentimes during all of these atrocities and being in the towns and stuff, kids go missing.
Really? No, definitely did not pick up on that one.
And they're like killed and stuff. So there, if you remember at the very start, it is interesting that he accuses the pastor dude. He's just like, you murdered this child and you molested them and
Right.
stuff. And he's like, oh no, he wasn't ever there. Or I wasn't ever there. He accused him of being something somewhere. He's like, oh no, I never seen this guy before in my life. And he just made up some random story, which probably tied to him. But there's a number of scenes like when they're doing the partying and stuff, and it's like, and there's a father running around wailing, is like, where's my girl?
Oh yeah,
Where's
yeah,
my, and it's out of nowhere.
yeah.
It's just like, where's my young girl? And he's crying to death. And then there's one where they just find an 11-year-old girl on the other side of the wall naked and dead. And then in the end, when they're all barricaded and Judge is in control, he has a kid girl chained with a leather collar
Yep.
outside the wall. And it's just kind of said.
Super
They don't like say anything.
Yeah.
But then also there's another naked girl in his quarters with the idiot with
I do
his
remember
cannon.
that.
And that's also kind of like, they don't say anything. They don't address it beyond saying that she's there, right? So it's heavily implied from start to finish that he is a pedo serial killer, which is just a whole nother insidious level of horrific because he is
Right.
also stalking the kid from start to finish
Yep.
since he was 14.
Right. Well,
So, and then it's like, and then at the very end,
he's like, I've been there since you were in the womb or whatever.
yeah, and well, he also like killed him. It's like he's obsessed with him because he's like just can't get his hands on him. And then when it's like in the jail, and he's just like, come over here.
Right. Well, that's why he probably hates free will because he can't make you do something.
That's yeah, it's just another layer of just complete pure evil with this guy.
I'm curious. Have you ever read the Book of Enoch?
No.
Oh, okay. You want a trip? You read that. It's a whole lot of things. And they list a lot of the fallen angels. And I bet you if I felt like having that headache again, I could go back and I bet you it's, that one.
Oh, sure. Well, like I said, it was one of those things where they mentioned it's just like he's based off of just Lucifer straight up.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he probably read up on some other stuff too, and it all just got mixed into being like, he's just the devil, whatever.
Which also reminded me a lot of Hell on Wheels.
Well, even by the end, because the other thing is he's also a musician, and it's obviously a very apt choice that he plays the violin more beautifully than anyone else and stuff.
Yeah, didn't they
and
say
he's
he'd
everyone's
make people
favorite.
fall in love with his playing or something?
And dude, the end thing that he says on the last chapter, I think we can actually do a little bit of an insert there. It's his last phrase.
Epilogue, or?
It's the page before the epilogue. So it's after, so the man, because the kid turns into the man at like the final couple chapters or whatever. This whole thing.
I just thought Fiddler is grinning broadly.
Well, this specifically.
He never sleeps.
He's singing about himself.
His feet are light and nimble. He never sleeps. He says that he will never die. He dances in light and in shadow, and he is a great favorite. He never sleeps, the judge. He's dancing, dancing. He says that he will never die. I don't like that.
No! Because it's also, he's saying that about himself. So he's horrible. And right before he did that, he murdered the kid in a bathroom stall, naked.
He has a thing with clothing. He doesn't like
Well, yeah, he strips a lot. That's another thing, too. He's also just walking around naked all the time.
He's
really... Or half naked. So it's just like, what a horrifying villain. I only have one more thing to say about the judge. And that was, in that book, My Confession, the log, the judge by name is spoken of as being the most terrifying evil person that he had ever met. So like the whole thing, even with the whole being a pedo thing,
You're gonna have to send me all of these
was-
videos because I'm gonna watch them.
I watched one video.
You should link them too, so if anybody else wants to deep dive.
That's true. I'll do a shout out, and then I can do an @ on the YouTube channel, and then they'll come watch our video and how bad it is.
But we'll get seen.
It's chaos. But at Wendigoon, I'll send you the video
Yeah,
there
I want
because
all of the things.
he goes over a lot of the overarching things and just the events as they happen.
Mhm.
Because it also just cuts out a lot of the, and then they walked, and then
They walked,
and then they walked, which it helped me so much because at the very start I got
There was
so
a
lost
lot
at the
of
start.
traveling. Yep.
And because like, well, even here the other thing too is I didn't understand the historical background,
Oh.
so they were just saying stuff that was happening, and they were like referencing actual places and stuff, and I was just like, what the hell is going on? Because
So
I
you
didn't.
need to play Red Dead because
Yeah.
that's how I followed most of it.
I didn't understand this whole like mercenary thing that was going on with the skirmishes and why they were going to Mexico.
Really?
No, I didn't understand any of that.
Wow.
I just missed a huge thing. I didn't really understand exactly what timeline. Like obviously West, but it's like
See, that's why I thought it was after the Civil War because I thought that's when it took place. I didn't realize it was pre-Civil
Yeah.
War, but it makes sense.
well, you know, like the discrimination is very very rampant. And wild,
Right? I was
so
like, yeah.
pretty
Like you
intensely
have
rampant.
Yeah, you have the Civil War with all of that,
Mhm.
and then like even after with like the Trail of Tears and buying all the Native American land and whatever. So like
But-
that's why I was really confused when this took
Yeah.
place. But yeah,
But yeah, he mentioned in it the judge had a record or like whatever that was they were in a town and there was a kid, you know, that was
mm-hmm.
all that, and like he was killed, and he had strangle marks on him with massive hands, and there was only one person in the whole town with hands that big, so everyone in the gang knows exactly what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the book, if you were to go back through it and reread segments, there's another part where they meet some like random dudes in like a building. They're just like squatters, I think,
Yeah.
something like that. I don't even know what they do. I think that's where the poison horse thing happens too.
Oh, okay. So I
Um,
probably stopped paying attention because I was like, another animal died.
But there's also a kid in the building, and they're like, the judge is like, who's the kid? Or whose kid is it?
Mm-hmm.
And then Glanton shakes his head after they tell him we don't know. And they're like, the implication isn't just like, oh, they don't know who the kid is. The implication is he knows exactly what Judge is thinking,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody knows what Judge does and what he's thinking. And that also makes a lot of sense with the ex-priest and why he's like, Kid.
He doesn't leave the kid alone very often.
right, he's like, don't interact with the judge. Don't talk to the judge. Don't speak his name. Stay away from the judge.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a horrific book
It is.
with a lot of horrific events.
So, where are you putting this? Heaven or hell?
Well, you're gonna give me the first one. See, here's the one flaw about our setup: is just whoever has the first statement.
I
Well,
beat
it
you
should build
to it.
suspense if you choose it. If you choose heaven first. So what I could say is, heaven.
No.
I'm just dodging criticism. No, I will put this book to hell. Before I go into should I just go into my reasons why? I choose
Yeah. Go do that.
The judge is an impressively evil character who definitely stood out in my mind.
Oh,
As
yeah.
the more I heard and listened, and like I said, when I watched the end of the video after I finished watching, once I got to like a halfway point, I watched the other half of the video. Because when I got really lost is when I watched the first half to just summarize and get like what happened, and I
Mhm.
got the historical background. I was like, I understand. I'm way more into this now.
Okay.
And then I started reading the second half, and I read the second half on it. I still ended up getting slightly lost here and there, which,
Oh yeah, I did too listening to it.
like I said, that might just be me and my reading level or something like that.
No, it's not a simple book. Especially if
Okay.
you don't even have quotations around the talking.
Well, that was the other thing, the punctuation.
Yeah,
there
there
is no
isn't any.
punctuation.
None whatsoever.
Apparently, this author does that.
No, yeah. He never used
I'm not a
it.
fan of that, so I will count that against you. Use punctuation. Stop being a pretentious bitch. It exists for a reason. Punctuation
Does make
exists
it
for a
a
reason.
little bit easier for
Makes
the
it
reader.
easier, especially for people who are not literature buffs or whatever. I mean, to be fair, this is not exactly an immediately accessible book. This is considered a hyper disturbing book. It's been wanted to be banned multiple times apparently, and you know, it's near impossible to adapt into film. But
Challenge accepted.
yeah. But beyond that, it was like the getting lost really took away from my experience. And just for the record, for anyone who might be upset about me sending it to hell, this is extremely just subjective, and my judgment is based on if I enjoyed the book or not, and that is literally it. I'm not getting cookie points for it being an important work. I'm not giving cookie points for it being a classic or anything else. It 100% depends on if I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I did not enjoy it from start to finish because there were giant gaps where I was just like, and they're walking through the desert, and they're walking through the desert.
Oh, they killed another town?
They murdered another town. And because, yeah, that was even a thing, too, at one point, because I, like, read parts of it at one point, that, like, it's so dark and it's disturbing and all the gore and all that crap. But, like, the one that stood by me was, like, the first thing with the old lady. Like, that, as far as, like, the gore goes, the old Native American lady. That was, like... But, like, everything else after that, it was just kind of like, okay, I get it. It's a gore fest. Yeah, it's just like, it's just another gore fest. It's just another gore fest. You know.
And then the puppies.
Yeah, well, yeah, I remember the puppies too. Like, I remember a lot of the events.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, was I particularly impacted or disturbed? Like, disturbed a little bit, you know, with some of the stuff. But not any more or less than other disturbing things that I have, like, read or watched from, like, storyline point of views. It's just hasn't impacted me in that way. Like, the judge is horrific as a character, but, like, one really, really good character for me doesn't sell a whole book.
Right.
It almost was like, okay, well, let's just try to get to the next scene with the judge in it. At one point.
He had to wait a long time.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, especially at the start. Because, like, the first scene grabbed my attention, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, wow, this character's evil. Hook. Yeah. I was like...
Great hook.
But it also kind of tells you, because, like, the kid's just wandering around, but it's like the judge is still the focal point of the main thing.
Right.
It's like he is clearly the focal point of the book. As, like, his star... It's his star character, like the author's star character, right? Not the kid, necessarily.
No.
At least it had purpose, because it's, like, disturbing just for the sake of disturbing makes it just kind of edgy and pointless, and then I'm just like, well, now it turns just to being cringy. And I didn't feel like any of it was cringy, because especially since it felt like it does have a type of purpose, and, like, almost like, aside from, like, the judge and being, like, a horrific thing, but it even, well, with the judge present, it felt like a remember this type of thing. Because, like, it did kind of, when I read it, like I said, with the Native American stuff, it's like, I already, like, obviously knew about a lot of the things and atrocities and stuff that happened historically. But, like, just reading it in, like, this context, even if it's, like, a dramatized thing, really just triggered something that was like, wow, that is just horrific.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I had that same reaction.
And so it kind of hit a point where it's just like, yeah, you really don't want to knock on those doors of discrimination. Because it can look like that. So it did that, and that I would say is a positive thing. I mean, unless someone read it and was like, hell yeah, brother. You know, I don't think most people go into it like that.
Oh my god.
But, like, I do feel like there is merit in, like, remember the atrocities type of pieces. Even if there's no, like, happy endings or happiness anywhere to be seen. And it's just horrific and disturbing and all that crap. If I was to give it, like, a star rating, I guess, I would still probably give it, like, 3.5.
That's not bad.
No.
That's a decent rating.
Yeah, it's relatively short, too. So it doesn't overstay its welcome, but the desert scenes definitely do. There isn't a plot.
No, this is just historical.
It's just events that happen in a series, kind of.
And you're just there for the ride, basically.
As far as like, traditional fiction goes, anyway, it would be considered not a plot. I think I feel comfortable saying that.
I mean, historical fiction though doesn't really follow the same
I
guidelines
guess.
as fiction. But no,
But it's like if you were to summarize the plot, it would be something along the lines of: kid joins an evil gang, kills a ton of people, and dies.
That's, I mean, I guess, but the selling point would be like,
meets the judge. He's a pervert.
Wild.
To undersell
How many
it.
people can that apply to today?
Everyone in the gang was probably a pervert too.
I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure everyone in that was a pervert. Anyway, you can give your official judgment now.
Okay, so since I'm an official book reviewer, I gave this 3 stars.
Okay.
That's why I was surprised that you rated it higher than I did. But for the same reasons, like...
I also really like horror and I
don't mind
disturbing
horror.
content is a little bit of a niche for me.
But it was so, like I told you, I don't do subtle. I have a hard time with metaphors and stuff like that. So without you telling me about all the children and hiding in the background, I would have never noticed. Now I'm really excited to watch
I might not have noticed if it wasn't for the video too.
Right.
But I might have. Because when I read the actual scene at the end, it's not like I said I didn't see the whole video. At the end I was like, okay, I would definitely raise an eyebrow at that. Because even in the first few scenes that he showed up, I raised a little bit of an eyebrow on some random events. Because there's also the hermit randomly. That's like...
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Because he has this whole spiel about humanity being evil and inventing things that to continuously do evil.
Yeah.
And then the kid wakes up and the hermit's just hovering over him, and then he crawls away.
Super
and
creepy.
just,
Yeah, it's almost like a golem.
Yeah,
almost.
he's just like
yeah.
hovering over him, and it's like, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What's the implication here? I was like, was it something sus, or was it?
It's hard to tell.
Was he just a weird hermit?
With all these characters, you're like, okay, are you insane or are you just evil?
You're never. Well, and that's the thing with the character. I will say this about the writing of the characters. It's like, although it almost seems like the author has a somewhat omniscient view.
Yeah.
Where it's like he'll randomly tell you what other characters are thinking and stuff. It seems like randomly, occasionally. Not all the time.
I mean, that's just his style, though, because the robe is similar.
It does not tell you, like, the intentions of anyone at any point ever.
No. You're basically just there.
It's just, you're just watching what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you got to go off of, which makes it scary.
It does. But it also, I'm not the biggest fan of that writing style, so which is why I didn't
for, like, when
give it that high.
Kind of like when you're talking about the kids, like, he's almost a non-character to a degree also. It's like, we talk a little bit about some of the things, but...
he's honestly there for the judge to obsess over, really.
Yeah. Which is almost the whole universe, is just for the judge to interact with.
Right. It's all about the judge. He's
I mean,
diva.
the book absolutely is all about the judge.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the writing was grating sometimes. Like, you worked to get to the judge scenes, and I don't appreciate that all that much.
The monologues were great, though.
Yes, they were.
Dude.
Some of the monologues, like, I loved the priest talking about the judge. That's probably my favorite part.
That was so good, too. Yeah, the
like,
priest and the judge were really good.
Yeah, they were definitely the highlights of this book. So while I would be cleaning or driving or doing whatever, and I would just randomly stop. And because, like, I live with my mom, I would be like, she was like, why are you making these faces? Because I make faces. I'm terrible. Like, within the book, if they say a character smirked, I smirk. Like, I'm not reader.
Empathize.
Right. But I would be reading this, and especially, like, the first horrific scene, or the puppies, or the horse, where I just stop and be like, oh my gosh. Like, make this horrible face. And I was like, are you okay? It's like, I never wanted, up until Harry Potter and Umbridge, I hate her so much.
I did too. I think everyone does.
She's so much worse in the books than in the movies.
Yeah.
But the whole time reading this book, I'm like, I don't think there's ever a book I read that was like, I want every single one of these people to die.
Well, they're all horrible.
They're all terrible.
They're like it's a collection
so
of the most
bad.
Despicable, disgusting scum of the earth possible.
So
and that's
bad.
I guess there's an impressiveness in that. It's like not only that, but without crossing the line into cringe, you're just hyper fake fictional.
Right.
Because I feel like there's a fine line there where you're just like, it's almost just laughable if you but it's like, it's believably still horrible and horrific, where it's like, I believe all these characters are actual characters doing these things.
Especially in that setting where, like, it was the Wild West. There was no laws. It was basically, you hoped everyone was a decent human being.
I mean, they were also, they were operating outside the law, but it's like, barely.
Yeah, it was only marginally. It was, yeah.
The only difference was they chose to kill a different race.
Yeah, basically. And even then, it's in some parts of the world, that's still a thing.
Yeah.
Like, and it's terrible. So, like, I like that it had.
Once again, Liam, that there is a point.
There is definitely a point. And that's why I didn't give it like a 1 or 2, because I hated this book at times. But, like, yeah, it made me think, and it made me have to sit with certain feelings, even though I really didn't want to. And
you're welcome.
So yes, I would also send this book to hell. But this is a great segue. So it's his birthday at the time of filming this.
Wow, that's a great segue. I'm sending this book to hell. It's his birthday.
But I
deserves to go to hell.
He gave me the choice for the next book we talk about.
Yes.
So I'm terrible. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, I have other people pick stuff for me many times. Like, I'm terrible at picking books.
Which, by the way, let's also plug this. Put your recommendations down below.
Yes, all our X. If you want us to burn a book, we will burn. Yeah. Not physically burn, but we will burn a book. But I have choices.
No, it's real.
I have
real fire here, burning the book.
So I don't know a whole lot about these.
Okay.
I know generalness. So the first one I picked was Demon Copperhead, which is
Demon Copperhead.
Loosely a David Copperfield. I forget who wrote David Copperfield. I'm a fake reader. Mark Twain?
No.
No, I don't remember.
I know who Mark Twain is, but no.
This is another historical fiction.
Anything he wrote except for Huckleberry Finn or whatever.
It's a historical fiction, apparently, that takes place in the mountains of the South Appalachian. But I have never seen a bad review for this.
Okay.
Everybody and their brother loves it.
So it's supposedly a good book.
It's supposedly a super good book.
Another historical fiction.
It's another historical fiction. But it has magic? That's all I know about it. I found it at a library book sale. I was like, yep, I will take that. So that's option 1.
Option 1. Will it be A?
So option 2 is a psychological thriller called The Sanitarium. I also don't know anything about it other than it's called The Sanitarium, and it takes place in a haunted. There's ghosts, I believe. Yeah, it's called a splendid gothic thriller.
Yahoo.
And if it's psychological thriller, I'm all for it. Since
I haven't read a thriller yet, so
ever.
I don't think so.
I don't know if this will hopefully.
Does Harry Potter count?
All the magic and evilness in Harry Potter. Snowed in and guest panic.
It sounds interesting to me. I am pretty blank canvas when it comes to actually reading novels. It's
right, and those are both standalone. They're not giant series or anything like that.
Okay, no commitment.
So this one, Never Let Me Go.
I like the face on the cover.
Is a dystopian that's also very challenged. It's Brave New World-esque.
I haven't read that.
I can't explain that to you because I think it'll
almost anything. Okay. Or half of the adaptations of anything if they had movies.
So this would probably be.
Heard Brave New World is good. The book.
Super good. Love that.
Maybe we'll have to do that one at some point.
It also doesn't have punctuations. I know. I'm sorry.
That's a sin.
I picked this one.
Guess who's going to hell?
Listen to the audiobook. It makes it so much better.
Okay.
But it's also in the same vein, which I think they did adapt this, but I don't think they did a very good job.
Okay.
From what I hear.
Well.
But it's a challenged.
This is not movie burners.
Since you didn't even know who Viggo Mortensen was.
I don't know who anyone is.
Oh, so disappointing. So this one is
was this one? A dystopian?
That's a dystopian that's also challenged. Okay. It's banned, I think, in some places.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's another banned book.
Yeah.
Essentially. This one is wild. So this is Anonymous Rex about a police detective who is a dinosaur.
I like dinosaurs. Those are the choices.
Those are your options.
I think y'all will have to tune in next time to find out the answer because I'm indecisive.
And it's his birthday.
And it's my birthday. I can do that. So, thank you all so much for watching or listening wherever you have listened or watched. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Share it. Share the video. If you're on anything else, Spotify, iTunes, wherever else podcasts go, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm going to have to learn that stuff. Because I'm only a YouTuber at this point.
I'm an Instagrammer.
There's going to be links to Instagram account, Whispers of a Reader, and YouTube, Lord Battora. You can hang out with us on the streams. He moderates our chats, so don't say bad words like shit. That probably won't get you banned. But if you say the N-word, like I'm about to say, no. I have my favorite quote is from Blood Meridian, and it says here, here's a black man, and y'all are troopers if you endured this video. You can see that this book is now burning in the depths of hell. It deserves it.
It really does.
Judgment is perfect and
absolute.
righteous and absolute. If you disagree, you can join it. But until then, I hope you have an excellent day, night, whatever time you're watching.